Hey, congratulations! You've built a $5 million business, but you're still thinking like an employee. One of the most interesting patterns that we see with successful entrepreneurs is this. Their business grows dramatically, but their financial strategy never evolves with the business. They go from earning $80,000 a year as an employee to building a business generating millions in revenue. Yet they're still making financial decisions the same way they did when they had a W-2 job. That creates a disconnect because the strategies designed for employees are often not the strategies that create long-term wealth for business owners. Before we go any further, I'm Jennifer Taylor, Senior Partner at E3 Wealth. I work with clients to turn complex financial decisions into a clear, coordinated plan so they can build a strong financial foundation and move forward with confidence. One of the most common things we see is business owners who have built incredibly successful companies, but they are still approaching their finances with what I would call an employee mindset. Let's get started. When you're an employee, the financial playbook is pretty straightforward. You maximize your 401k, you claim the deductions that are available, you reduce your taxable income as much as possible. You hope that someday when you retire, your taxes will be lower. For employees with stable salaries and limited financial planning flexibility, that approach often makes sense. But business owners operate in a completely different financial environment. You control the income timing, you control entity structure, you control how profits move between the business and your personal balance sheet. These are powerful levers. The problem is many entrepreneurs that we see, they never fully use them, mainly because they don't know what exists. Let's say you've built a business producing $1 million or more in annual profit. If your primary tax strategy is still just maximize deductions and defer your income, well, you may be solving the wrong problem. Why? Because aggressive deduction strategies often reduce taxable income today, but they don't necessarily build long-term wealth structure. In some cases, they can even make future planning harder, especially for a business owner. Example, constantly deferring income into tax-deferred accounts may create a situation where the majority of your wealth is trapped in vehicles that will be fully taxable down the road. And that may reduce taxes this year, but it doesn't always produce the best outcome for the next 20 or 30 years. The financial strategy for an entrepreneur should look very different from the strategy for an employee. Instead of focusing only on income reduction, business owners should be thinking about how their balance sheet is structured, how income flows between the business and personal finances, how liquidity events might occur in the future, such as selling your business, and how taxes will be managed not just this year, but across decades. The shift in thinking changes the conversation. Instead of asking, how do I reduce taxes this year? The question becomes, how do I structure my financial life to create the most control over my wealth long term? At a certain level of success, financial strategy becomes less about individual deductions and more about structural design. This may involve things like coordinating entity structure with long-term tax planning, building diversification across different types of accounts and assets, thinking about liquidity events, succession planning, long-term income structure. In other words, your business becomes one piece of a much larger financial picture. And when those pieces are coordinated correctly, the outcome tends to look very different than a strategy focused only on minimizing taxes in the current year. The biggest shift that we try to help entrepreneurs make is moving from income thinking to balance sheet thinking. Employees are primarily optimizing their paychecks. Business owners should be optimizing their financial architecture because over time, the architecture often determines the outcome far more than the paycheck itself. If you have built a successful business but still feel like your financial strategy is mostly focused on deductions, tax filings, deferrals, it may be time to take a step back and think about the bigger picture, because building wealth as an entrepreneur isn't just about growing your income. It's about structuring that income in a way that creates long-term control, flexibility, and efficiency. If you would like to explore how a more strategic approach to planning might apply to your situation, we invite you to schedule a conversation with our team, because the goal isn't just building a successful business. It's building a financial structure that supports the life you want long after the business evolves.